This week on Texas Entertainment News, Lone Star actors are rolling into theaters near you. Fort Worth's Bill Paxton gets to the heart of Twister. Can a guy from Jersey get to the heart of Texas? Ask John Sayles, director of Lone Star.
As they said, the three things you have to know how to say in Texas are, well, there you go, he needed killing, and there's family in there.
Try some barbecue with Lubbock's Joe Ely, scope out some Houston folk art, and kick back with Willie Nelson at his very own Western town. These stories and more on Texas Entertainment News.
Are you sure?
And I'm Tom McConnell, and this is Texas Entertainment News.
We're here in Houston at the Orange Show. Do you know exactly what this place is?
No, Lisa, I don't.
Well, we'll have to check it out later, but first let's check in on some Lone Stars and hot summer blockbusters. Next week, Midland's Woody Harrelson strikes into action in Kingpin. Harrelson plays a one-handed bowling con man who corrupts his Amish protege, played by fellow Texan Randy Quaid.
You could be a champion. I'm just not interested. You suck! No.
On next week's show, we'll have a complete interview, plus a look at Woody's Texas connections. And speaking of Randy Quaid, he opened last week in Independence Day, a big-budget disaster flick about bizarre phenomena that threaten the world. Quaid is joined by his old classmate from Bel Air High, Houston's Brent Spiner of Star Trek fame. Many people know Forrest Whitaker from The Crying Game. Not so many realize that this versatile actor hails from Longview, Texas. He's on the screen this summer with John Travolta in Phenomenon, yet another movie about bizarre occurrences. Phenomenon tells the story of a man who spontaneously develops incredible mental powers. And guess what? Houston's Brent Spiner is in this movie too. Just call him Mr. Paranormal.
Another Texas star has already made his mark this summer, Fort Worth's Bill Paxton.
Have you lost your nerve?
Tighten your seatbelt.
Until recently, Paxton made his career mainly on secondary roles. But Twister turned his career in a new direction. We caught up with Paxton before the release, and he was talking tornadoes.
There are images in this movie that are just going to go right into people's subconsciouses. There are over 300 shots of tornadoes.
No one can accuse Paxton of taking his role lightly. This man knows his tornadoes.
I found this one picture. It's supposedly the first picture known to exist of a tornado, taken of a tornado in 1884 in South Dakota. And this thing, if you were going to physicalize Mephistopheles as a weather phenomena.
Physicalizing weather is exactly what the folks at Industrial Light and Magic did.
And also the dust that's come in, have it come from here, from the left a little.
They're the team that brought Spielberg's dinosaurs to life in Jurassic Park. For Twister, they took master shots on location in Texas and Oklahoma. Then added computer-generated graphics to bring the big twisters to the big screen.
It starts out as a line. A tornado would be much as its spine, sort of moving along. And then we fill in with the particles, the motion of the debris and the air molecules around that spine.
Many of the effects in Twister were modeled on home videos by real-life Texas storm chasers, like Fort Worth's Martin Licious, recently featured on Texas Entertainment News.
So we spend a lot of time looking at those tapes and figuring out, okay, what is interesting about particular tornadoes? And also interesting in the time that we have in the picture. Most of those shots are, 5-minute shots.
So far, Twister's been a smashing success. Bill Paxton hopes the movie will suck in viewers all summer long.
I think people are going to see this movie 3, 4, and 5 times. I know if I was a teenager, I'd probably see it 3 or 4 times. Because it's just an amazing ride.
There's another movie out this summer with more Texas ties than you can shake a stick at, Lone Star, the latest from acclaimed writer-director John Sayles. Sayles shot Lone Star on location in Eagle Pass.
I had been wandering around for about 10, 15 years wanting to do something about the border.
Brownsville's Chris Christopherson plays a double-dealing sheriff with Chris Cooper as the man who finally stands up to his reign of terror.
Sheriff Deed? Sheriff Deed is dead, honey. He's just Sheriff Junior.
It's not just the first movie Sayles shot in Texas, it's his first murder mystery.
Finally, when I came up with the idea, well, what's something that drives us into the past, you know, the way that we investigate the past. I felt like, well, an investigation. And it's Texas, it must be a murder. You know, as they said, the three things you have to know how to say in Texas are, well, there you go, he needed killing, and there's family involved.
I told you to do something. You gonna hop to it, or are we gonna have a problem?
So I figured, you know, a murder that took place in the past.
You want to turn tail in front of your people,
would bring you in one of these little border towns that could take you across all those racial and ethnic lines in your discovery of who did what to who.
Lone Star is drawing excellent reviews, but come on, how does a guy from Jersey catch the essence of the Texas border?
In a way, it was my misinformation about the place that started it, which was that the first time I traveled on the border, I had hitchhiked out there, I expected, okay, here's the border, north of it are the Anglos and they speak English, and south of it are the Mexicans and they speak Spanish. And what I found instead on the Texas border was that people were speaking Spanish on both sides. And somebody had snuck out in the middle of the night and drew a line, you know, right in between them and their cousin or them and their brother and said, okay, you're one kind of person and you're the other.
Lone Star actors round out the Texas flavor, including Uvalde's Matthew McConaughey.
You know, in the case of Matthew McConaughey, I had seen him in Rick Linklater's movie, Dazed and Confused, and I just was fascinated with his character. And I realized, wait a minute, he had a tiny part, and I kept looking at this guy. I have a small part, but the guy has to be a legend. I need somebody with that kind of presence and with that kind of relaxed masculinity that he can sit like this and have a confrontation with an armed redneck sheriff.
Our Houston critic Joe Layden calls Lone Star one of the best films about the border in years, and the first to catch it in all its complexity. Catch Lone Star yourself in theaters around the state.
In production news, another film shot in Texas opens next weekend, Courage Under Fire. Meg Ryan and Denzel Washington shot the film in Austin, San Antonio, and El Paso, with West Texas passing for the Persian Gulf. At a ceremony in Washington, recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor honored the film for its depiction of the Gulf War.
Very realistic, very emotional. Not a lot of Hollywood gee whiz. I think it was very, the type movie we need.
For more on other film news around the state, dial up our internet homepage at www.txent.com. Coming up next, take off with Wing Commander 4 and go home on the range with Willie Nelson. And in 2 weeks, don't miss our Texas Music Special.
Hello, sir. I'm looking for... Oh, I know what you're looking for, and I got it right here. The concrete cracker. No? How about the avalanche starter? The ballistic blaster. The intercontinental kamikaze. I'll take 2 of those.
Play Firecracker Cash with 10 chances to win.
This is the studios at Las Colinas, the premier motion picture and television studios of the South, which are now open to the public for guided tours. Come visit the stages where films like Silkwood, JFK, RoboCop, and Leap of Faith were filmed. A gallery of memorabilia, such as Superman's cape and Batman's costume, and the miniature submarine from Hunt for Red October, along with hundreds of artifacts from the National Museum of Communications. Call 214-869-FILM.
Welcome back.
Where are we, you ask? In a few minutes, we'll meet someone who can put an end to the mystery.
First, we have an update for you on Willie Nelson.
Willie just capped off his annual 4th of July picnic in Lukenbach. Lukenbach's a nice place, but did you know Willie actually owns another western town? Nancy Wilson brings us the story.
Welcome to Luck, Texas. And this is your old cotton-picking, snuff-dipping, tobacco-chewing, stump-jumping, gravy-sopping, coffee-pot-dodging, dumpling-eating, frog-gigging hillbilly from Hill County, Willie Nelson.
What was that all about?
Actually, it was an opening that I used to have when I was a disc jockey up in Fort Worth, on a radio station, and I would open my show that way every day. So I said, well, why not try it again if I can remember it?
Now, how does Willie Nelson get his own western town?
Well, several years ago, I did an album first called the Red-Headed Stranger album, and I always wanted it to be a movie, so one day I had a chance to make a movie out of it. So I built this town, and we shot it here. There's a lot of people who really knew what they were doing that built this town. They aged the wood, and they did a lot of things that, you know, I wouldn't have known how to do.
Were you hands-on on this project? You come out here and say, I don't think so?
No, I was more or less money on, you know. We needed the church down here where the preacher, the character that I played, where he held his church services, and the bar up at the end of the street where we did all our light drinking. The Bill Whitliff rendition of Lonesome Dove, a lot of it was shot here. The Fort Smith, Arkansas was shot here. My sister and I, Bobby, she and I grew up in a church like this, and we played gospel songs all the time. We played them at home, we played them at church. And we come in here a lot and play.
What's your favorite?
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see.
Put good movies together with great computers, and what do you get? Computer game movies. That's the key to a whole new industry coming out of Austin. Walt Macaborski of KVUE brings us this story on one of the hottest interactive movies in the country, Wing Commander 4.
A real intergalactic adventure may be eons away.
Do not fire on the remaining craft.
But not with CD-ROM interactive technology.
Wing Commander 4.
This is the latest interactive computer video game by Origin Systems here in Austin.
Wing Commander 4 is at the very cutting edge of computer technology. What we're doing is expanding entertainment into further reaches so that now you can involve yourself in how the story is told.
As a player, you take on the role of Colonel Christopher Blair, played by Mark Hamill. You interact at key points in the plot, advance the story, and determine its outcome.
Easy!
It's anything but easy. This game integrates movies that were filmed in Hollywood over 9 weeks at a cost of $8 million. The realistic look of the game involved painstaking detail.
We actually went to Air Force bases and naval bases to get photographs of real ships and airplanes to apply as textures to the ships that were built and designed and are in the space flight.
With Wing Commander 4, Origin hopes to knock out the competition. Origin is already working on Wing Commander 5 with more cutting-edge interactive technology. For Texas Entertainment News, I'm Walt Macaborski.
Stay tuned for the Texas Beat, and Lubbock's Joe Ely lays out the mystic connection between barbecue and the blues. This little angel started out in Houston. Who is she? Find out when Texas Entertainment News comes back.
How many immunization visits should babies have by the time they're 2? 1? No? 2? No? 3? No. 4? Yes. Babies need to go for 4 immunization visits before they're 2. Hey, wait for Mom and Dad. Diseases like measles and whooping cough aren't child's play. They can cause brain damage or even death. So remember, immunize your little Texan by 2. They'll love you for it.
Don't mess with Texas.
This little angel started out in Houston. Who is she? Jacqueline Smith.
Now, this guy's obviously been at the Orange Show for quite a long time, but let's get the real story on how this place came to be.
Well, it's really a personal history museum. When you walk through it, I mean, knowing that it was all made by a single man, you can begin to tell bits and pieces about his life and about who he was and what he believed. And what he believed in was oranges. Jeff McKissick was a postal worker downtown. He believed that if you ate 3 oranges every day and had a hobby, that you would live to be 100 years old. But he really, I think, saw the Orange Show as being the theme park, you know, to his philosophy.
The Orange Show Foundation supports a number of folk art sites around Houston, like the Beer Can House, decorated entirely with beer cans.
It actually is a giant wind chime. It's one of the most beautiful sounds in Houston. It sounds very kitschy and very funny, but everybody that I take there is actually struck at how beautiful it is.
Cleveland Turner, known as the Flower Man, maintains another popular folk art site at his home in the 3rd Ward.
He developed a real serious alcohol problem and ended up in the hospital with alcohol poisoning. And when he recovered, he made a pact with God that if God would help him stay sober, he would make this house of flowers.
This is the folk art capital of Texas. But why Houston?
I think it says something about the ability of the people of Houston to be tolerant and to even appreciate eccentric ideas. There's something in our history about being adventurous. You know, the fact that we were founded really by a couple of con artists who landed on the bayou and said, this is a fine place for a city. There's a spirit of adventurousness here that really allows people to do and be who they want to be.
Well, there you have it. If you're in Houston, check this place out. And if you're looking for something else to do next weekend, we've got some great suggestions.
Take to the skies at the Great Texas Balloon Race. Enthusiasts from all over the world will be taking off from Forrest Whitaker's hometown, Longview, Texas, for this 3-day event.
Diva, an all-female jazz ensemble, will headline the Sunday festivities at the 10th annual Taste of Dallas. Taste of Dallas showcases the city's restaurants and retailers, and this West End celebration is the largest free admission festival in the city. On July 9th, Melissa Manchester comes to the Dallas Summer Musical Series in Music of the Night. It's an overview of Andrew Lloyd Webber from Jesus Christ Superstar to The Phantom of the Opera.
Finally, ever wonder why they put a humongous telescope out in West Texas? Well, it just happens to be about the best place on Earth to look at the heavens. So, for some good old-fashioned stargazing, check out the McDonald Observatory in Fort Davis. Enjoy a tour of the constellations and experience the moon, planets, stars, and galaxies through some of the largest telescopes in the world.
Coming up next, Joe Wheely cooks up some barbecue.
They hang out at the lakes, in the mountains, and the high desert plains. They eat rocks and dirt for breakfast, blow with the wind, sleep under the open skies, propagate like crazy. They have a reputation for being seedy, uncultivated, and altogether colorful. Now they're even staging demonstrations. Wildflowers, pretty, tough.
This is not a toy. All right, that's it, little mister. You're in timeout.
Leave a message for the amazing Ronzoni.
This is Al's House of Tricks. We've had complaints about the trick swords, so you might want to skip that number tonight.
For a more reliable way to get your messages, get call notes.
Welcome back. You know, Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, put it best when she said, "You can't have good music without good barbecue."
Honey, you'd be a sad one. A way to a musician's heart is through his stomach a lot of times, you know.
He was born on the Brazos River in the 1920s, the son of a sharecropper, the man who first taught Stubbs to cook barbecue. After serving in Korea, Stubbs returned to his native Texas, Lubbock to be exact, and opened up the original Stubbs Barbecue. Stubbs once said, "I do what I do for the love of music and for the love of people."
He was such a great storyteller and a really magnetic personality. As soon as he'd walk in a room, no matter how many people were there, all eyes would go onto him. And you know, these were the days when we were hungry. You know, we were like we weren't making any money. We were struggling from gig to gig, trying to get by. And Stubbs was so generous to always, you know, feed us when we were down and out, and, you know, never ask for anything in return. And so his generosity was a big part of his humanity.
I wish I could feed the world and forget about the cost of it. I really do. You know, it's a sad fact that we got so many hungry, so much unrest in this world.
Many of the young musicians fed by Stubbs' barbecue eventually made their way to Austin. When he closed his place in Lubbock, Stubbs followed his friends to the hill country.
He'd drive around and follow the scent, and he hit every barbecue place in town, and he said, you know, Joe, as far as I can tell, there ain't no barbecue in Austin. So he opened up a little place here and became an instant hit with all the musicians and you know, of course, everybody else that liked good barbecue.
Stubbs went on to sell his own line of barbecue sauces and even appeared on Late Night with David Letterman.
Now, what is the sauce there you're putting on there?
This is pepper sauce, garlic, and this is Stubbs' special spices.
Right, what's in the special spices?
All of Stubbs' love and happiness. Make it all come out. Make you want to get married sometime.
A new Stubbs opened in Austin this April. In fact, it's at the exact spot Stubbs himself had chosen for a barbecue joint before his untimely death in May of last year.
I was driving around. Stubbs said, I think I found a new place for my restaurant. And we were coming up Red River, and I saw this place on the corner, which used to be called the One Night, and it was the very first place that I ever played in Austin. And I was just fixing to tell Stubbs when he said, that's the place I'm going to get. How do you like it? I said, yeah, I think that's the spot.
No titles to nothing.
They dedicated the new Stubbs in April. Ely's been a regular ever since, on stage and at the dinner table.
More precious than gold.
And in other music news from around the state, some advanced concert news. Def Leppard will be rocking through Texas the first week of August. They'll have the Fort Worth band Tripping Daisy in tow, playing dates in Houston, Dallas, and Austin. Hal Ketchum will be hitting the country hotspots in late July with stops at Billy Bob's in Fort Worth and a double show at Rockefeller's in Houston. The Texas Tornadoes have a single on the soundtrack to Kevin Costner's new movie, Tin Cup. A Little Bit is Better Than Nada is the song, and it's also the first track on their new album, Four Aces. That's it for music news. Stick around for an old favorite from Little Texas.
Lone Star Overnight delivers your Texas packages for about half the usual price. Guaranteed. No wonder they've attracted quite a following. Lone Star Overnight, expressly for Texas.
The studios at Las Colinas, the premier motion picture soundstage of the South, home of such blockbusters as JFK, Born on the 4th of July, Leap of Faith, and many more, is open to the public for guided tours and a look behind the scenes. Don't miss the only studio tour between the two coasts. Open 10 till 4, 7 days a week. For information, call 214-869-FILM.
Next week on Texas Entertainment News, Kingpin Woody Harrelson takes a trip down memory lane all the way back to Midland. Go behind the scenes with an award-winning music video director, Austin's Wayne Miller. Get ready for gold with the fastest man on earth, Dallas sprinter Michael Johnson. And check out this Lone Star's unbelievable highlight reel. And coming up in 2 weeks, don't miss our Texas Music Special.
That's all for this week on Texas Entertainment News. Here's Little Texas with some of their favorite Lone Star actresses.
See you next week, everybody.
Voices like the whisper of a warm wind through the pines. Her smile can reach the soul of any man. Her heart is strong, her love is true, and her touch is soft as lace. There ain't nothing like a woman. There ain't nothing like a woman. No, there ain't nothing like my woman. Southern
this week on Texas Entertainment News. Kingpin Woody Harrelson takes a trip down memory lane.
Was bowling a major part of your life?
You know, I have to be honest. No.
Get ready for gold with the fastest man on earth, Dallas sprinter Michael Johnson.
I think that's enough.
And coming up in 2 weeks, don't miss our Texas Music Special. Catch it all this week on Texas Entertainment News.